This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, usually joining us on Mondays, going to join us today with ESPN, the SEC Network, and can hear him weekly right here thanks to Craneworks. It's Paul Finebaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Finebaum on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Finebaum.
Paul, this is going to be a tough one for you because I know historically you're known for having to bite your tongue when it comes to discussing the Big Ten. Tony Petitti's proposed 24 to 28 team playoff. What are your thoughts when you heard this doozy?
I had to get some help to get off the ground after I fell down laughing hysterically and uproariously. I've always considered Tony Petitti to be a very serious, intelligent, New World commissioner, but he has completely jumped the shark in recent months, and I feel badly for the Big Ten getting stuck with him right now because he is leading this conference or trying to lead this conference somewhere it really doesn't need to go or deserve to go, and the real problem with the 26 team playoff is how do you find enough schools from anywhere but the SEC to fill it up? I mean, the Big Ten doesn't have enough. Certainly the ACC and the Big 12 don't. And I just think it's an unserious, completely absurd proposal. And if you're going to make something like that, defend it. And that's another thing that bugs me about Tony Petitti. He's been involved with Greg Sankey, with the CFP. We never hear from him. He finally shows up on an in-house podcast a couple of weeks ago before he goes to media days. And, it's the one thing about Greg Sankey. He's always out there. He's always accessible. He's transparent. And I think it's one reason why, in spite of 2 years of not having won the national championship, the SEC is still the most talked about and best conference in America.
It's kind of amazing that a league that is remarkably top heavy and has very few big players in the middle ground is all of a sudden trying to champion a possible proposal that has 7 automatic qualifiers. How does that make any sense, Paul? Like, where does this automatic qualifier decision come from?
Well, I mean, listen, it seems TV directed, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we all work for television networks, but I think you have to be realistic when you're involved in these type of conversations. And I think it's fair to say that Championship Saturday is in danger if the playoff gets expanded. I mean, that's not a secret, but it just is, this thing just makes no sense. And I mean, we can sit here and beat a dead horse about what you just said, Greg, but I mean, I think they don't have enough decent teams. And I think a lot of people just looked at Indiana last year and they had a really great season, but is that sustainable? And unless you have what the SEC had, it's not. And I know that sounds like, okay, we're just getting the script and reading it. We're not. The SEC was made fun of last year because they only had 3 schools in the CFP, but nobody mentions the 3 that were at the cut line. And in the conversation, and then if you want to bloat the whole thing up like Petitti is proposing, then that opens the door for a bunch of 8 and 4 teams as well.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline with us thanks to Craneworks Weekly. You just brought up, Paul, kind of where Championship Saturday is going. It was a topic of conversation at media days. It has been the last couple of years. Kirby Smart's been very vocal, essentially saying, why are we here? Now that you've had a little bit of time to sit back on that being a real part of the conversation in Atlanta this year, where are we going with Championship Saturday, in your opinion?
I think we're moving away from it, and that's fine. I mean, it was different last year, and I'm not gonna get in the way of the parade. I mean, everybody loves that weekend and what it represents, but we all knew what was going on last year. It was a great exhibition. It went to overtime. It was fantastic. And like in the NFL, Georgia and Texas were playing for seeds, and sometimes that really matters a lot. It can often determine the champion or the Super Bowl, depending on where you begin the process. But I think it has a few more years, but no, it doesn't have a long shelf life. We're not going to be doing that 10 years from now.
What I'm trying to figure out, Paul, is why do we feel the need to expand at all? The more I think about it, the more I think an expansion to 16 is really unnecessary. And you can continue to prioritize the regular season, or you can expand, and now all of a sudden 3 lost teams are being rewarded like they would have been last year with Miami, who I know only had 2 losses, but Miami would have 2, but Bama, South Carolina, Ole Miss all had 3, all would have been in if we had 16, thus allowing teams to win just 75% of their regular season games into the postseason. Why do we want to expand to 16 to begin with? Why don't we just leave it at 12?
Well, I agree, and Greg, you were there every step of the way last year, and by the end, it felt exhausting, and that's primarily because we had never done it before. But I mean, there were times when you're going from week 2 to 3, you're like going, is this ever going to end? And that's not how it should feel. And by the way, that's not how the NFL feels. But the NFL has been doing this a lot longer. I think we ought to stay where we are until we can figure out the next move. And that's the problem right now. While some leagues are being patient, Petitti just seems like he's in a big hurry to get to the, if you're on the food line, he just wants to go right to the T-bone steak and skip the salad. And I think that comes from his background. I mean, he's been in. Listen, let's not forget, he's a Harvard educated attorney who spent time on Wall Street. He spent time at television networks, and he spent time at the MLB. He doesn't understand the nuances of college football and college basketball and things like that. And I think when you just parachute in from Madison Avenue or Wall Street, you are not going to be prepared for how the game is really played, where you have other commissioners, Sankey, Jim Phillips, to make the ACC and the SEC, who have been in intercollegiate athletics their entire life. They understand how it works.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Thanks to Craneworks. I want to go a little bit of a different direction with you because we like getting your opinions on head coaches and bigger picture topics here. Away from the SEC, away from the Big Ten. Greg and I have been pretty high in Clemson this entire offseason. A lot of folks, it's taken them a little while to sort of get on board. I'm hearing more people now when discussing Clemson come completely full circle saying, well, Dabo's been there before. He's won a title, so that's a massive advantage for Clemson heading in, when a lot of these same folks the last few years have essentially been pointing fingers at him laughing because he can't figure out college football. Is it a real advantage what Dabo has done in his past heading into this season based on where we are, or maybe even what he has?
Yeah, I mean, for a relatively young guy, Dabo looks very old school and very smart right now. And I've been critical as well. So most of us are in the camp of having tentatively written him off. But he has his best team probably since 2019 and or 2018. One of those years when Trevor Lawrence was roaming the sidelines. Both of them, to be exact. And quite frankly, I think they're among the 2 or 3 most likely national championship contenders. They have it all. They're going to, because of that first game will be magnified, even more for them than for LSU. I think there's more pressure on LSU, just in terms of the first game jinx. But Clemson won't see many more opponents like that, and I think that's why if should they win that game, they and the winner of Texas and Ohio State are really in the best position in terms of what we're thinking. But I admire Dabo in terms of what he's done. I mean, he went from a couple of years ago to being about as cold a stock as you could find to now he looks like one of these internet bubble stocks of 25 years ago. I mean, he has really done a remarkable job. And I think, remember, this was a guy that 2 years ago didn't get a phone call from Alabama, his alma mater.
Paul, help me out for 1 second with Dabo. Kind of piggybacking off of week one outcomes. Because we have the LSU, we have the Clemson. That game is significant. We also know there's two other games involving top 10 teams, Notre Dame, Miami, and then you also have Texas and Ohio State. In the event in which one of those teams, I just gave you 6 teams, gets blown out, doesn't matter which one, is there a situation where if one of those teams loses convincingly, a la LSU 2 years ago to Florida State, a la Michigan to Texas last year, where it gets sideways, it's not super competitive, where there's a significant fallout? Who do you think of all the coaches participating in those games has the most on the line?
Brian Kelly. And even though we all know what he has after that, he's the coach, I think, in this first weekend that's probably the most vulnerable because of everything that has already been said, and also his schedule. Nobody else has remaining games like Brian Kelly does, especially coming back in 2 or 3 weeks later against Florida. So you start thinking, if you get blown out there and you lose another game, you're down to your last swing of the bat, perhaps, with all kinds of schools coming up like Texas A&M. And especially Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Everyone else has a path back. Even Clemson. I mean, they have. I think they're at Louisville. They've got 1 or 2 other games. South Carolina, but Ohio State essentially has 10 State left, and then a possibility of a Big Ten championship game. I think Brian Kelly would clearly be the topic of conversation Monday morning after that one on this program.
Where's Brian Kelly with LSU right now, Paul? Because you probably heard the comments from Marcus Pierce a couple weeks ago. We played him on this show, essentially saying this crowd is ready to turn on him. I know it hasn't necessarily been the highest of success, but he's done some really good things. I don't know what the realistic expectation is to just be undefeated every year maybe, but is he on some sort of perennial hot seat either with the fans or the administration right now?
It's kind of a split decision there. And I was with Marcus when he said that a week or two ago. And what Marcus was reacting to was just the amount of, how fans will react. We understand that, but I don't believe the administration there is going to overreact. Scott Woodward is heavily vested in that system. You have a new president who's a big fan of all the athletic teams, and I just don't think there's a heavy appetite down there because I don't think there have been the kind of missteps and misstatements and miscalculations as we've seen elsewhere. Now, the problem is if this season is, you can't ever answer a question in August about a season that turns into a disaster. I've seen Alabama coaches start the season ranked number 3 in the country and they'll only win 3 games, and of course they were fired. But I think Brian Kelly, as long as this season seems successful, is going to be back next year.
Paul, always appreciate the time. Thanks for making up your visit from yesterday. Look forward to catching up next week.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
There you go. Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. He's with us every week thanks to Craneworks, making up a couple of Mondays on Tuesdays, but he'll be with us weekly as we head into college football season. We'll react to a little bit of what Paul had to say there and some of the directions that he was going. Here's what we've got for you today. Rick Neuheisel, he's had some interesting comments for Jackson Arnold, Auburn quarterback. Hugh Freeze had some interesting comments about Auburn quarterbacks yesterday. Andy Burcham makes his first weekly visit of the season today at 8 a.m. And UNLV head coach Dan Mullen joins us at 8:30. We asked about the quarterback competition. We asked about some of the veterans on the team as we went through the roster yesterday. So why not get the head coach on to tell us about it? All that and more coming up next on Jocks. Before we do that, don't forget about Train. Boy, it was warm yesterday walking around. The heat and humidity is back. We had a nice week that it was calm. Don't let it affect your family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're the efficient cooling partner here at Jocks. Find a comfort specialist near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. We'll hear from Hugh Freeze. Talk a little Jackson Arnold next, right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and Three-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.